once you have all of your supplies assembled, come on back, get your workspace all set up. We are going to start out with just the paper. So get everything out of your way and we'll get started. Pardon the cat hair. Okay. Once you have your piece of paper, I would suggest that you cut it into something that's nice and square dimensions. As I mentioned before, this is a 4-inch diameter by 4-inch high pot. So for me, 4, 4, and 4, that's 12. And so I'm using a 12-inch square piece of paper as my template maker. If you have a 6-inch pot and it's 6 inches in diameter, you will probably need at least an 18-inch or a 20-inch square piece of paper to work with. This does have a slight, very ever so slight taper, so it's probably not going to be exactly 12 inches. So the first thing you do is once you get your paper all squared up is you fold it in half. So this is just a quick, easy way to make sure that you get it in nice equal dimensions. So I folded it lengthwise. I'm gonna fold it widthwise. Easy peasy, get a nice little crease going. And then I'm going to fold it across so that the points meet. And this just gives us a really nice guide in creating equal lines. Okay. So once I have that, I'm not sure if you can see, but you see that now I have little facets or folds on my piece of paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plop my little guy at approximately center, I hope. I hope this is centered in here. And I'm gonna take this and draw a little circle. Take my little pencil, draw a little circle around it. Let's see where we go. That's good. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So now I have my little circle. So if you were a crazy person and you want it to be super, super perfect, this is where you would take your ruler and you would measure the height of this. So this is roughly like 3.5 inches. And you would go out here and you would mark your 3.5 inches. And I actually give it a little bit more, so I'm gonna put it at 4 because it's easier to take away more material than it is to add. Obviously, you're gonna have to start all over again. So I think, you know, add like an inch or so to whatever your actual height of your pot is. So this is 4, and that's 4.5, so that's 4. And then if you have your protractor, you could mark your center and you can go around and make a circle. If you don't have a protractor, a nice little hack is to take your yarn or piece of string or ribbon or whatever you have. And I have a little piece from earlier. Take it, make a little knot, tie it to the pin, find your center point. This is where having a nice little pad is super helpful because I can sort of tie it in there. Be very careful because it will pop out if you pull really hard. But I'm just gonna go from here to here because I am all about shortcuts, okay? And that's really all we need. If you wanted to, you could go around in a circle if you want, but it's not really necessary because I'm gonna show you a really cool trick. Now you can take all your paper, fold it back up, take your paper scissors, and I'm gonna go with my 4.5 inch. And now we have a nice little circle. Easy peasy, right? So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to cut out little wings. So how I made this is there's actually two outer wraps that are bigger and then two smaller wraps on the inside. So the outer wraps cover the majority of the pot, and this kind of just covers the center part and holds it up a little bit. So there's just a slight little overlap in the outer ones, and then this goes into the center, the brad. So I'm gonna mark this out so that you guys can see the line. So I took, you know, part one, which is 2 parts of the circle, and then part 2, which is the second part. And I'm just gonna mark this so you guys can see what I'm cutting. And these little parts we're gonna chip away. So how I did this is, again, it's easier to take a little bit out of it at a time, and make adjustments later than accidentally remove too much and then have to start all over again. So I am going to cut to my little circle line. Make sure that you leave the bottom part where your pot diameter, the bottom of your pot diameter is. Cut, cut, cut. And this is where having those little fold lines is really handy, because you can make sure that you cut right along that line. It gives you a nice little guide. So let's put our little puppy back on here. So again, this is going to be the inside, and this is going to be the outside. Inside, outside. So as you can see, it's a little bit too tall, and I think I can do with removing some material in here, because you can see that there's a lot of overlap. So I'm going to trim some of that out. And so this is the part where you just kind of play with it a little bit, just see how much is really needed. You don't want to take out too much, because then the edges of the pot will be exposed. You just want to take out enough so that you remove some of that thickness or that volume. It makes it a lot easier, and it makes the finished product look a little bit nicer. And test in between cuts just to see how it looks when you wrap it. And it's really all about your personal preference. This entire process is not about perfection. It's about the process. So that's a super, super zen moment for you guys. You know, just trying to have fun with it. So I think for me, that looks like it's enough, because what I don't want to happen is for when I start to wrap it to have any more than that exposed. I don't mind having a few little air pockets at the bottom, but I think any more than that, I will not dig it. So the next part is for me to work on the diameter, or I guess the height. So you can either like take your pencil and you can mark out where you need to cut out. Sorry, little Hoya. If you want a cheater way, you can just kind of like fold around so that you get a nice little crease and a guide. Excuse me, Hoya. And then you can kind of do what we did before. Fold them up, fold them up, fold them up. Where's our little lines? And just kind of gently trim out along the folds. Maybe I should have made it 3 inches to begin with, right? He still might be a little bit too tall. He is. I think I'm gonna take my scissors and go directly to it and just kind of cut around. I want to have a little bit of a lip on here because I don't want any of the pot edge to show. My initial one, the first one here, I think I cut it a little bit too short because some of the pot edges show, and that bothers me. So, excuse me, Hoya. How about that? A little bit jaggedy, a little bitty uneven. That's all right. I can fix that pretty easy. So let's test it out and see how this looks. Outside, inside. Looks pretty good, right? That's a cute little mock-up. So I'm digging it, I'm digging it. So this is the template I'm gonna use to cut my outer shell. Voila!